Shortly before the First World War, the city started to expand again, and new suburbs were built. Even though the Netherlands remained neutral in this war, Amsterdam suffered a food shortage, and heating fuel became scarce. The shortages sparked riots in which several people were killed. These riots are known as the Aardappeloproa, Potato Rebellion. People started looting stores and warehouses in order to get supplies, mainly food. On 1 January 1921, after a flood in 1916, the depleted municipalities of Durgedam, Holisloot, Zuiderdorp and Schellingwood, all lying north of Amsterdam, were, at their own request, annexed to the city. Between the wars, the city continued to expand, most notably to the west of the Jordaan district in the Frederick Hendrik Buurt and surrounding neighborhoods. Nazi Germany invaded the Netherlands on 10 May 1940 and took control of the country. Some Amsterdam citizens sheltered Jews, thereby exposing themselves and their families to a high risk of being imprisoned or sent to concentration camps. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews were deported to Nazi concentration camps, of whom some 60,000 lived in Amsterdam. In response, the Dutch Communist Party organized the February strike attended by 300,000 people to protest against the raids. The most famous deportee was the young Jewish girl Anne Frank, who died in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. At the end of the Second World War, communication with the rest of the country broke down, and food and fuel became scarce. Many citizens traveled to the countryside to forage. Dogs, cats, raw sugar beets, and tulip bulbs, cooked to a pulp, were consumed to stay alive. Many trees in Amsterdam were cut down for fuel, and wood was taken from the houses, apartments and other buildings of deported Jews. Many new suburbs, such as Osdorp, Slotervaart, Slotermeer and Geuzenveld, were built in the years after the Second World War. These suburbs contained many public parks and wide open spaces, and the new buildings provided improved housing conditions with larger and brighter rooms, gardens, and balconies. Because of the war and other events of the 20th century, almost the entire city centre had fallen into disrepair. As society was changing, politicians and other influential figures made plans to redesign large parts of it. There was an increasing demand for office buildings, and also for new roads. As the automobile became available to most people, a metro started operating in 1977 between the new suburb of Bijlmermeer in the city's Zuidoost, southeast, exclave and the centre of Amsterdam. Further plans were to build a new highway above the metro to connect Amsterdam Centraal and the city centre with other parts of the city. The required large-scale demolitions began in Amsterdam's former Jewish neighborhood. Smaller streets, such as the Jodenbriestraat and Weesperstraat, were widened and almost all houses and buildings were demolished. At the peak of the demolition, the Newmarkt riots broke out. The rioters expressed their fury about the demolition caused by the restructuring of the city. As a result, the demolition was stopped and the highway into the city's center was never fully built. Only the metro was completed. Only a few streets remained widened. The new city hall was built on the almost completely demolished Waterlooplaan. Meanwhile, large private organizations, such as Stadshostel Amsterdam, were founded to restore the entire city center. Although the success of this struggle is visible today, efforts for further restoration are still ongoing. The entire city center has re-attained its former splendor and, as a whole, is now a protected area. Many of its buildings have become monuments. And in July 2010 the Grachtengordel, The three concentric canals, Herengracht, Keizersgracht, and Prinsengracht, was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. In the 21st century, the Amsterdam city centre has attracted large numbers of tourists. Between 2012 and 2015, the annual number of visitors rose from 10 to 17 million. Real estate prices have surged, and local shops are making way for tourist-oriented ones, making the centre unaffordable for the city's inhabitants. These developments have evoked comparisons with Venice, a city thought to be overwhelmed by the tourist influx. Construction of a new metro line connecting the part of the city north of the IJ to its southern part was started in 2003. The project was controversial because its cost had exceeded its budget by a factor of 3 by 2008. Because of fears of damage to buildings in the center, and because construction had to be halted and restarted multiple times, the new metro line was completed in 2018. Since 2014, renewed focus has been given to urban regeneration and renewal, especially in areas directly bordering the city center, such as Frederik Hendrik Buurt. This urban renewal and expansion of the traditional center of the city, with the construction on artificial islands of the new Eastern Ijsberg neighborhood, is part of the Structural Vision Amsterdam 2040 initiative.